Puragraganya Ganagocha Goloduharam Gauranga Gurutama Gopyada Kalpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachiya Dile Kakola Kahe Premananda Emona Gauranga Hridoya Dadiya Bola Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Laha Gaurangera Namare Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema-bhakti-candrika Padama Pumata Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavyarapi Gopalam Sri Kuryat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pidva Rishe Yustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathabda Brajabala Vapahimam Vanchakalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, nice to see everybody here today. So we can recite this prayer to Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Shri Krishna Nama Amrita Varshi Vaktra Chandra Prabhadvasta Tamo Baraya Gauranga Deva Anucharaya Namo Namah Shira Narottamaya. Again and again I offer my obeisances unto Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He is indeed a true follower of Lord Gauranga Dev, the nectarian shower of the holy name of Krishna, radiating from the moon of his mouth, destroys the darkness of ignorance. So we're still in Prema-bhakti-candrika on the 5th song and the 8th stanza, and this is the 11th session that we've given on this subject, which is about Siddha Pranali. And let's go ahead and look at this verse again that we're on today. Yugala charana sevi nirantara e bhavi anuragi taki bashadoy shadane bhavi bhajaha shidadehe pabataha raga patira eshe upai. I will constantly desire to serve the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna with loving attachment. Whatever I contemplate during the practice of devotional service will certainly be achieved upon perfection in a spiritual body. This is a method on the path of attachment. Raga patira ese upai. This is the process of the method on this path. So we've been speaking something about Siddha Pranali because some Vaishnavas They cite this verse to indicate that Narottam Das Thakur spoke about Siddha Pranali, but it's a rather weak peg to hang your conclusions on because it's not so clear. He just says Sadhana Bhavi Bhajaha Siddha Dehe Pabataha, that he speaks about whatever sadhana you do, Jaha Siddha Dehe Pabataha, when you obtain, when you get that Siddha Deha, that's it'll determine that. That something like that. So we've been speaking from the Patanjali Yoga Sutras and from many different Puranas and Vedic literatures and from our acharyas, trying to understand what really is the process for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. I'm looking back a little bit right now. And we want to, everyone understands, everyone agrees that we have to enter into samadhi. And that's what Patanjali Yoga Sutras begins with, stating yogas chitta vritti nirodha. That yoga means the samadhi. Yoga means when the chitta vritti nirodha, there's no fluctuation of the mind. We've achieved the position of nirodha, or controlling things up. And we spoke something about ahankara in connection with what the Yoga Sutras describe as the problem, which is inattention. And if we have that inattention, then we can't understand who we are. And the Yoga Sutras go on to describe that tada drastu surupi vastanam, that if we achieve this nirodha stage, then automatically we'll understand what is our siddha deha. So there is some necessity for it, and we want to attain this. We spoke some statements from Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. We want to understand who we are. What is the purpose otherwise? And we gave some example, just like somebody, if you meet someone on the bus and you ask them, where are you going? And they say, I don't know, I'm just on the bus. You'd think the guy was really crazy. You know? So, but in a similar way, sometimes we have devotees who are practicing bhakti, but you ask them, where are you going or what are you doing? And they just kind of say, I don't know, I'm just here. So the Yoga Sutras speaks about the necessity of controlling our chitta, our consciousness. And as we heard from Sridhar Swami's Bhavarta Dipika, Bhagavad Bimba Grahitvam, that the nature of chitta is that it's reflective. And so in that connection, we spoke about the importance of association. And we spoke about how this Trinadapi Sunichena verse is said by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the Siddha Deha mantra, the Siddha Pranali mantra, the mantra for that prescription. And we heard from Chaitanya Bhagavat, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a most clear description about Siddha Deha. He says, Prabhu Boli Kahalina Ehi Maha Mantra. He speaks about the Hare Krishna mantra as we should do japa with this. And then he says, Iha hoite sarva siddhi hoibe sabar. This is a clear statement from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that by chanting Hare Krishna, you'll get all perfection. And looking back, we heard how Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Eva Kevalam, the holy name, the holy name, the holy name gives everything. Kolon Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva. 3 times Nasteva. No other process, no other process, no other process. Gatir Anyata will give us that goal. And so what is our goal? The goal is the same for all persons who are doing sadhana. The goal is the same for all persons who are practicing yoga. The goal is to understand who I am. What is my nature? But there's a problem, that ahankara. So we heard how that coming before the guru means to come as a blank slate. In the Bible, Jesus says that empty your cup and I'll fill you. So our cup is full with so much ahamta and mamata, with ahankara, with false ego. This is me. I'm American. I'm an intellectual. I'm a bathing beauty. I'm a weightlifter. I'm a this. I'm a that. And we can't understand who we are. So to begin our spiritual life, we have to approach the Lord and his devotee in the proper way. And we heard in our last session from Haridas Thakur how he spoke this verse, Amita Adama. Amita Adama. I'm fallen. That's what I am. So when we begin to understand this much, and you may say, well, I want to understand my Swarup and this and that. Well, this is the first thing. You want to become well and healthy. The first thing is not that, oh, now I'm going to start lifting weight. The first thing is that you want to understand what is your sickness? What is your position? What is the wrong position that I'm in? So Haridas Thakur's teaching is here. Amita Adama. I am fallen. And I know who you are, my dear Lord, to me, Adama Tarana. You're the deliverer of the fallen. Ubaye Sambandha E Patita Pavan. This is our connection, our Sambandha, that you're the deliverer of the fallen. So therefore, Gurudev, he's Sakshat Ritvin. He's a manifestation of Krishna who's come to deliver us. He is our connection with the Lord. And we have that connection as long as we feel very, very humble. So we spoke so much about this false ego and the nature of pride. I'd like to begin looking a little something from the Bhagavad Gita and also from a verse too that we translated for our Bindu magazine some years ago from the Narada Purana. This first verse is from the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and something my Guru Maharaj often quoted, Dambo Darpo Bimanas Cha, Kroda Parushameva Cha, Agyanam Cha, Vijatasya Partha Sampadam Asurim. That Partha Sampada Asurim, my dear Partha, Sampada Asurim, this is the qualities of the asuras, or the demoniac. A demoniac person means someone who doesn't understand who they are. And this is their problem. Dambo Darpo Abhiman. They have this Abhiman, this false idea, which comes from Damba, from pride, from Darpo, from arrogance. And then Krodha comes from anger, Parusham, some harshness and ignorance, Agyana. These are the qualities of a demoniac nature. And in the Brihanaradiya Purana, there's a beautiful story, which I'm not going to go into right now, but it says, Ahankara, this is spoken by Narad Muni, Ahankara Mahan Yagye Masu Yolo Bahetuka, that this pride, this Ahankara, this false ego, literally, is that thing which destroys everything. It's the source of the false ego, loba hetuka, and it's the cause of all types of failure, all types of failure. So as long as we have this pride, and sometimes devotees have this kind of pride, or this kind of one of the symptoms of ignorance, which is spoken about in the Yoga Sutras, that we have some bewilderment, or we have some imagination that I think, oh, I'm a very advanced person. And one devotee once came to Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, when I chant, I see this red light. And Prabhupada said, anyway, just keep chanting and it'll go away. My Guru Maharaj, once somebody came to him, and one of my godbrothers, and said, Guru Maharaj, I'm chanting. And when I'm chanting, I saw Lord Nrsingadev. And Guru Maharaj looked both ways and said, don't tell anyone. So whether it's actually true or not, don't tell anyone, because if you start speaking about it, it's going to be a problem. If it's just some kalpana, some imagination on your part, then it's going to strengthen that imagination and your false ego to it. If it's actually something genuine, then it's also problematic, because you shouldn't give it away. It should be something very, very private. So how do we overcome that ego? That pratishta. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has given a beautiful book called Braj-Bilastava. Maybe someday we'll give some classes on Braj-Bilastava. He's given the condensed form of all the different Braj Leelas and identities, descriptions of Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda and all Radharani and all the different gopis and cowherd boys and the cows. And it's a very wonderful book. But in the very first verse, he, in his Mangalacharana, he indicates indirectly a kind of obstacle, which is going to be there to prevent us from entering into that. Now let's look at that verse. He says, Pratishta Rajabir Badham Kamajavatmapatibi. We recite this verse every day. Very beautiful verse. That he says, I'm on this pathway. I had some friends who would travel years ago between Vrindavan and Radhakund. And at night, they used to actually block the road off because there were so many gundas there. Sometimes the gundas would knock a tree down or burn some tires in the middle of the road. So people would have to stop. And as soon as you stop your car, they come out with guns. And one Mataji I once met, she had gone to Radhakund for Radhakund Prakat, the worship of Radhakund. And she was driving like 1 o'clock in the morning back to Vrindavan. And there was a log in the way of the taxi. So the taxi stopped. It was slowed down. And all of a sudden, these guys jumped out with a gun and they blasted a shotgun. They fired a shot off from the shotgun through the windshield of the car. And this Mataji was hit in the chest. She was very fortunate she didn't die. And the taxi driver, God bless him, just didn't even stop. He just turned around as fast as he could and drove away. And she managed to live through that. So we're on this pathway, we're on this road. But Pratishta Rajubir Badham. Badham means to be bound up. I'm bound up with these ropes. And what are those ropes? They're the ropes of lust, greed, and anger. The ropes of Pratishta, the desire for some position. Otherwise, I'm on the road of bhakti, but these gundas have come and they've tied me up with this. And as long as this lust, greed, and anger, and this desire, pratishtasa, this desire for some position. Asha means a desire for pratistas, to become famous and well-known, to have many disciples, to be a guru, to be this. As long as we have that desire, then I can't move on the path of bhakti. And so what do? Chitva means to cut. I'm praying that agare pantu mambataha, that the devotees of Krishna, who's the killer of the aga demon, that they'll come and chitvatas, they'll cut that rope, those ropes that bind me up. And how will they cut that? The word sadhu means a saintly person, but the word sadhu directly means someone who cuts. It means to cut. And a sadhu is someone who cuts the ropes of our ignorance with their harsh words. And unless someone comes and does that, how can we approach Krishna? How is it we've been chanting Hare Krishna for so many years and still we're not getting a proper result? Krishna is so amazing. Krishna is so wonderful. Even if someone just sees the Brahma Jyoti, it's such a brilliant, amazing thing. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Gopakumar was advised that when you go through the Brahma Jyoti, close your eyes. Don't see this because it's so amazing and so beautiful. You may decide, oh, I'm going to stop here. This is just the most beautiful thing in the whole world. Krishna is so amazing. Anything to do with Krishna, as we come closer to Krishna, there's just so much opulence around him. And someone may be a mass murderer or a Vaishnava aparadi, which is even worse than a mass murderer. Someone may be an offender, someone may be a pretender, and they may be chanting Hare Krishna. And what can be the result of that? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says it is bhakti uttara anartha. There's an anartha which comes from bhakti. Anartha means something which is not really our actual goal. And those come from pious deeds, or they may come from bhakti. So in this case, with bhakti, someone gets so many things. They get some position, they may get wealth, they may become famous, they may become beautiful, they may get so many different things because of chanting Hare Krishna, because Krishna is such an amazing personality. If you just touch Krishna just slightly, if you just come slightly in touch with Krishna, the more that you come in touch with him, the more opulence and amazing things you accumulate. Just like one of our non-devotee relatives once, she went to the temple. Krishna Kun's one of her sisters, and she was telling us, my God, all the girls are just beautiful at the temple. I've seen there's girls in all different groups, but every single girl in the Hare Krishna temple is just so beautiful. And many, many times people comment about devotees like this, that they're just so very, very effulgent. So what does it mean that someone's chanting Hare Krishna, someone can be a demon, but they're not going to get the proper result? They may get some dharma, artha, kama, and even moksha, liberation. But mukti tucha falahoy nama-bhajana hoite. The Chaitanya Charitamrita says that mukti tucha fal, that's an insignificant fruit of even nama-bhajana. And the example is a Jamil. Ajamil got so much from the chanting, just by chanting Nama-bhajana, calling his son Narayan. The real fruit of his chanting, though, he got some bhakti unmukhi sakriti, and he had to have darshan with the Vishnu Dutas, those saintly persons. And then they trained him up. And from that association, then things changed. So it's not enough just that we chant. There's so many people who are chanting, but whose prayers does Krishna hear? And this is the first thing I want to speak about today. I'm a little afraid that our topic is going to go even another session or two, because what I want to speak to you about is actually something very confidential, something I've heard from my Guru Maharaj, and sometimes Guru Maharaj gives there's a sign on the road, go that direction. And you don't exactly know what's in that direction, but we go in that way. So following some comments that he's made, we've traversed some different things, and we found some different things which I want to share with you, which are not often shared with devotees, because sometimes we may find this discouraging. Because nirvisesa shunyavadi, we have this impersonal aspect to us. And as Srila Prabhupada said in one lecture in Bombay, he said that some people say, what is the use of accepting a guru? I'll just read the books. And then Prabhupada said, of course, they have a very bad experience. So even back then, Srila Prabhupada was speaking like that. And there's so many people who've had bad experiences and they don't really have faith, especially in sadhu. If you announce that some Maharaj or some sadhu is coming to speak Krishna Katha, depending on the temple, maybe you'll get 5 or 10, maybe 20 people to come. It depends on how famous the sadhu is. But if you advertise a kirtan mela, you may get a few hundred devotees to go there. And especially if you advertise that we have this good musician who's coming, devotees have more faith in the holy name. And that's okay. But they don't understand the intimate connection between the holy name and the sadhu. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta described in one article, he said that if there's no sadhu, there's no name. The two are intimately connected. We don't generally speak like that, especially because to have faith in sadhu is a very big thing. It's a very difficult thing for many people. So then let them chant. And by chanting, they'll come to a higher platform. They'll get some bhakti unmukhi sakriti. They'll get some benefit. So let them chant. Now, I'd like to turn today from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Prema-bhakti-candrika. This is the Dvitiya Prakash. This is the second section. And there's a lot of Sanskrit here, which we're going to go some over. And it's important because we should quote authority, and we should have some faith that this is the process of our acharyas. So he speaks in this section about how Krishna becomes mugdha, or bewildered. And how Krishna, by nature, he's Satchidananda Vigraha. And he's nahanim naglanim na nija griha krityam vyasanitam na goram nora goranam nakila kadinam viti kimapi. Krishna's not aware of anything because you described here Vrindavanesh Yarvadi Prema-vilasa Mugdasya. Mugda means to become bewildered. And Sri Brajendra Sunar, Krishna becomes so bewildered that Nahanim, that Naglanim, he doesn't even notice any loss, any exhaustion, any household duties, any fear, worry, defeat by his enemies. Krishna doesn't even notice any of those things. He becomes mugda. In association with Varnanagibi, Swangi Krita Surid, the beautiful girls of Braj, who Varan Agadivi, that person who means Cupid, who has very beautiful bodily limbs. They've accepted Cupid as their surid, as their intimate friend. And so then Vrindavaneshwariyari, Prema Vilasa Mugda Shashi Brajenda Sunor Nakvapi, that Krishna becomes mugda, he becomes bewildered. And anya tra vadana sambhava ityavesiti. Krishna can't even think of anyone else other than Radharani and the gopis. So Harichandra Prabhu is chanting japa in the morning. And he's chanting japa and he's thinking, yeah, I'm really advanced. I'm associating. I managed to listen to 3 names in a row properly. I become a really advanced devotee. At least that's the way I think. If I can manage to think of 2, listen to 2 words even. But it's not that Krishna is dancing with the gopis and all of a sudden he stops and Radharani says, hey, what's going on? And then Krishna says, well, Harichandra Prabhu, he's chanting japa right now. So I don't mean to disappoint Harichandra Prabhu, but it doesn't work like that. Krishna, he's so attracted to the gopis, the Braj gopis, he can't think of anything else. That's the Supreme Personality of God. Now, this causes a problem. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur addresses this. Tata Satinana Digdesha Vartibir Ananta Raganugiya Bhaktaya Kriyamananam Paricharyadi Kakena Srikartavyam. So then what about Nana Digdesha Vartibi Ananta Raganugiya Bhaktaya? What about all the unlimited different Raganuga Bhaktas who are coming? Nana Digdesha means the different directions. They're coming from all different directions in all different countries, Desha. So then who's going to hear their prayers? If you tell this to the Raganuga Bhaktas, they're going to become very, very unhappy about that. So then he says, well, there's a possibility. Tad angsena paramatmanaiva angsa amsinur aikyad iti chet samadhir ayam. So you can say, don't worry, Krishna's in the heart, the super soul's in the heart, the Paramatma, and he understands everything, he can hear everything. But those Raganuga Bhaktas, that's samyag adhir eva tadrisha krishnanuragi bhaktanam. But that's just going to cause pain in their heart because they're very attached to Krishna. If you tell them it's okay, the Paramatma in the heart, he can hear your prayers. They're going to say, no. I'm not happy with it. So then what is the answer? Tahi kagati. Vishwanath says, then what is the solution to this problem? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Kalyana Kalpataru, he has a song which my Guru Maharaj like very much, where he sings something like this. Kali kukur kadanjari chao he, Kali yuga pavana kali boya nasana, Sri Sachinandana gao he, Kali kukur kadanjari chao he. So he gives this word kadan. This is a problem, Vishwanath says. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings the same thing. that this Kadan, this problem is there because Kali Kukur, there's a dog, a Kukur of Kali Yuga who's causing so much trouble. So Jati, if this is happening to you, then Kali Yuga Pavane Kali Boyanasana Sri Sachinandana Gao Hey. We have to take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by taking shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we can overcome that. But what does it mean to take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Because we've been doing that for a long time also. Srila Rupa Goswami explains this in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the second division in the first chapter. Bhakta Surit, that Krishna is friends with his devotees. Susevyo dasa bandhuscha dvida bhakta surin mataha. So there's two ways that Krishna is known as Bhakta Surit. This is the 39th name or quality of Krishna. Krishna is Bhakta Surit. He's friends with his devotees. One is that Susevya dasa bandhuscha. He's very easy. Someone wants to serve Krishna, he's very easy. But the second, Vida Bhakta Surin Mataha, if we make friends with a servant of Krishna. When Krishna went to Hastinapur, at that time, Duryodhana tried to get him on his side against the Pandavas. And Krishna at that time, he told him, I'm trying to remember the Sanskrit. Krishna Kuna, you around? You remember? He said, Yastan dvesti samam dvesti, yastananu samamanu. Yastan dvesti samam dvesti. Dvesti means to be hateful. And he told Duryodhana, anybody who hates my devotee, they hate me. Yastananu samamanu. Anyone who loves my devotee, who follows my devotee, they love me. And they're following me. You cannot separate the devotees from the Lord. And in some of our previous sessions, maybe a little bit today, we might touch on it also. We spoke about this wonderful article from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta called Associates of Sri Chaitanya, in which he explains, one of the sentences is that the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an extended subject. And he says, if you want to worship him, you must worship the devotees. You can't separate the devotees from the Lord. So Kali Kukur Kadanjari Chauhe. The answer to this problem is to worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But how do we worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? We worship him through his devotees. So some people don't have faith in the devotees. They're just chanting the holy name. That's okay. Rupa Goswami, though, he describes in his Namastakam that it's not such an easy thing. Naradavino jivana sudharmi niryasa madhuri pura tvam Krishna nama kamam spurame rasane rasana sada. He says, my dear Krishna, you're Narada Vino Jivana. You're the life of Narad Muni's Vina. And that has a subtle purport to it. Sudharmi niryasa madhuri pura. You're a flood of sweet nectar. Tvam Krishna nama kamam. My dear name of Krishna. Kamam. I have this desire. Spurame rasane rasana siddha. May you always please appear on my tongue. So it's not just an automatic thing. I may be chanting, but I'm not chanting. I may be hearing, but I'm not hearing. But here he's giving a little clue that it's that holy name, which is Narada Vino Jivana. That name is the Jivana, the life of Narad Muni's Vina, of Narad Muni's singing. So when that holy name appears in the heart of such a devotee, and we serve that devotee, we come in contact with Krishna. And therefore, we've oftentimes cited Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who said that Krishna is the Paramatma in the heart. And who's the Paramatma? The Paramatma is the devotee. Sadhavo hridayam mayam sadhanam hridayam tvaham maranyate najanati anaham tevyo managapi. Krishna says to Durvasa Muni, in the 9th canto of the Bhagavatam, that the devotee is always in my heart, and I'm always in the heart of my pure devotee. So this is yoga. This is the definition of japa, which Hari Bhakti Vilas describes. Mano majestito mantra, mantra majestitam manaha, mano mantra samayatamita japa lakshanam. This is a characteristic of japa. We've been quoting that verse repeatedly throughout our discussions, that when the devotee becomes one with the mantra, and the mantra becomes, when your mind becomes one with the mantra, and the mantra becomes one with your mind, that's japa. So how do we accomplish that? In the Yoga Sutras, we heard about the problem of inattentiveness, and how that problem is solved through association, but that association is established through humility, through a humble approach to sadhu. So it's this sadhu who's achieved this. Mano madhyestito mantra mantra madhyesita manaha. Krishna's in his heart. This problem, which is described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Madhurya Kadambani, is solved because Krishna's in the heart of the devotees. So if we pray to the devotees, if we please the devotees, then Krishna, he automatically hears those prayers. In the Adi Purana, there's a verse which is quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilas, where Krishna says, Shradaya Helaya Nama Ratanti Mama Jantava Tesham Nama Sada Partha Vartate Hridaye Mama. He's speaking to Partha, Arjuna. And Krishna says, that devotee who's Shradaya or Helaya, who's chanting with faith, or Helaya neglectfully, Ratanti Mama Jantava. Tesham Nama Sada Partha. I'm always chanting that person's name. So if someone is chanting the name of Krishna constantly, Krishna is also conscious of that person, but he's conscious of them through Krishna's pure devotees. Such a person who's constantly chanting like that, Krishna's in their heart, they become one with that mantra. And this is the process to approach the Lord. This is Krishna's nature. Krishna himself will go running after the devotee. In the Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami quotes this verse from the Brahma Vivarta Purana. Drishta Pashyad Aharaha Samsrita Prati Samsrayat Architas Charchaya Nityam Sadeva Dvija Pungava. He says, my Dvija Pungava, the best of the Brahmins, that the Lord sees the devotee constantly. And that devotee who's approaching shelter, Krishna takes shelter of that devotee. And Krishna, although the devotee is worshiping Krishna, Krishna worships that devotee. But it's not that Harichandra Prabhu, we should think, oh, because I'm chanting Hare Krishna mantra, Krishna's stopping in the Ras Leela, and he tells the gopis, just wait another hour till he finishes his japa. It doesn't work that way. Krishna's completely bewildered by the gopis of Braj. But those gopis of Braj, that means Nikunja Yuno Rati Keli Siddhyai. That means Gurudev, who's an intimate associate of Srimati Radharani. And so this is our connection with Krishna, is through the holy name. This is our Siddha Pranali process, this chanting of Hare Krishna. But it must be done attentively. It must be done without false ego. Ternada Pisa Nichena is our Siddha Pranali mantra. And then Kirtani Yasadahari. But Ternada Pisa Nichena means that we have the humility to approach Krishna in the form of the devotee. Not that proudly I think, oh, I'm chanting, I don't need to approach anyone. The essence of humility is that I approach the Lord's servant. As Srila Prabhupada sometimes would say, if you love me, you love my dog. So if I just want to approach the big person, if I'm just coming to an assembly and I'm a brand new person and I want to approach the president of the assembly, the most important person, good luck with that. But when you go to that assembly, there's so many senior persons there to you. So many people have a more intimate relationship with that leader of the assembly. And if you make friends with them, then they can bring you to that person. And so then what to speak of Krishna? This is a principle with Krishna. And therefore, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it said, Tate Krishna Bhaje Kore Guru Sevan. That my Krishna Bhajan is Guru Seva. This is my service to my Guru Dev to do Krishna Bhajan. And Jiva Goswami in Gopal Champu, he says that he says that there's 4 spears in the heart. One of them is someone who's coming to Guru, but they don't want to chant the holy name. They just want to make a show out of coming to Guru. There's some administrative system going on. There's some, you have to approach the leaders and the managers. And if you want to go to Guru Dev, you have to please the managers. So people sometimes think that's the purpose of gurus, to get a position in management, then I'll become close to Guru. But our purpose in coming to Guru is to do Krishna Bhajan. This is how Guru Dev is pleased. And Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha, he quotes Vamana Kalpa, beautiful verse, Yo mantra saguru sakshat, that you should understand that the mantra that you get from your guru, saguru sakshat, is directly your guru. Yo guru sahari swayam. And you should understand that your Guru Dev is Krishna, is Lord Hari. Guru yasya bhavet tushtas tasya tushto Hari swayam. If your Guru Dev is pleased with you, then it means Krishna is pleased with you. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasada yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes in the song we sing every morning, Guru Vastika, that if we please Guru, then everything comes. And if we displease Guru, then we'll never please Krishna. In the Harinam Chintamani, Bhaktivinoda Thakur directly states, Nama ikarana tattva nama sarva prabhu, parama aradya nama guru rupe vibhu. That this is the name. Name is karana tattva, nama sarva prabhu. Nam is a cause of all causes. Karana means a cause. It's a cause of everything. We should understand by chanting the holy name, we'll get everything. And Parama Araja, it's the most worshipable. And Nama Guru Rupe Vibhu. The name is a form of Guru Dev, a form of Guru which brings us to the Lord. So the holy name is Krishna, Abhinat Phenomenamino, it says in Padma Purana. The name is non-different from Krishna, but the name is also non-different from our Guru Dev. These are things you don't often hear, because many devotees, frankly speaking, I don't think they're really ready to hear this so much, because they'll misunderstand and take it in an impersonal way, or they may take it in some fanatical way and have another type of misunderstanding. So we just lost Raghunuga Rupanuga Bhakti Prabhu. Sorry to see him go. I'm going to continue here. So that same holy name is so intimately connected with Gurudev. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, as well as Srila Rupa Goswami's Padyavali, he gives the same statement, Ata Guru Shri Padadvan Vibhaktim. When he speaks about the holy name, he says the holy name gives you bhakti for your Gurudev's lotus feet. And on the other hand, Bhakti Stu Bhagavad Bhakti Sangena Parijayate. It's by associating with Sadhu Guru that we get bhakti to Krishna. The two are intimately connected. And if one tries to chant the holy name without taking shelter of Sadhu Guru, then just as we were mentioning, they may be a great offender and they're chanting, they get some benefit. But without actual serving, they don't get a proper result. So we should understand that service is everything. And what is the meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra? This is a very basic thing which Srila Prabhupada spoke about many, many times. And I'll give a couple of examples here. The first is from Science of Self-Realization. Prabhupada, two different translations Prabhupada gives of the Hare Krishna mantra. First of all, he says, this is our whole philosophy. Our whole philosophy is this. Hare Krishna means, O energy of God, O God Krishna, please engage me in your service. This is our whole philosophy. We want, now today we're speaking about Siddha Pranali. We're speaking about how to understand our Siddha Deha, our spiritual body. It means to render service. It means to be a servant of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says, it is our nature to render service. Somehow or other, we've come to the service of material things. But when the service is transformed into the service of the spiritual energy, then our life is perfect. So that transformation comes about in connection with sadhu, guru, in teachings of Lord Kapila Dev, chapter 14. Srila Prabhupada says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us that we should only beg God for his service life after life. This is the actual meaning of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When we're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, we're actually addressing God and his energy, Hara. Hara is Krishna's internal potency, Srimati Radharani or Lakshmi. Jai Radhe. This is Daivi Prakriti. And the devotees take shelter of the Daivi Prakriti, Srimati Radharani. Thus the Vaishnavas worship Radha Krishna, Lakshmi Narayan, and Sita Ram. In the beginning of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we first address the internal energy of Krishna, Hare. Thus we say, O Radharani, O Hare, O energy of the Lord. When we address someone in this way, he usually says, yes, what do you want? Our answer is, please engage me in your service. This should be our prayer. Such a very, very important thing. Because bhakti means service. You can't separate the two. Let's look in the Garuda Purana. There's a verse which is often quoted by our acharyas in different commentaries. Thank you, Bonnie. She got it. She says, it doesn't seem impersonal, in my humble opinion, to think that God and the Guru and Nam are non-different. Actually, it seems it's more personal. Yes, it is more personal. But still, some devotees may misunderstand this, and then they may also, because a lot of devotees don't have faith in sadhu. But that's the first thing, isn't it? Dorothea, you want to go and have association with sadhu, but I think by now you've already probably learned. Don't speak about it with everybody. That's one of the first things I learned when I felt a conviction to go to my Guru Maharaj. I went and I was invited to speak with some senior devotees, some very, very senior devotees who were some of the earliest devotees in 26 Second Avenue, who somehow had some affection for me. And there was one, two, three of them. And they when they found out that I wanted to take initiation, again, from my Guru Maharaj, they started preaching. I didn't mention my Guru Maharaj's name. I was a little shy about that, but they started preaching to me very heavy. You don't want to do that. And you just, and they started speaking Ridvik philosophy to me. And it was very, very difficult. I mean, even if you're a very senior Prabhupada disciple, these guys wouldn't listen to you. What to speak of me. These are senior people from 26 Second Avenue. And I was just quiet for like an hour. And they were going on and on, this and saying some. And I was just, oh my God, oh Krishna, what did I do? I shouldn't have said anything to them. I didn't know what am I good? How can I save my little tiny bit of faith that I have, this little tiny bit of desire? And finally, because I was quiet for 1 hour, finally one of them said, well, what do you think? Oh boy, now I'm in trouble. So then I had to look really deep in my heart. And I said, well, and I started addressing each one of them because they're famous persons and I knew them and I knew about them both. And I said, you all three of you had so much association with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada told you to go here, and Prabhupada told you another one to go there, and Prabhupada told you to do this service, and Prabhupada trained you, and Prabhupada praised you, Prabhupada chastised you, and I'm not going to be satisfied with anything less. I told him for 7 years, after my previous guru had left, I've been looking for someone, but I'm not, and I've been taking shelter of Prabhupada, but I'm not satisfied. I want an instruction from Prabhupada. I want service from Srila Prabhupada. I want what you have. And then they were quiet and they couldn't say anything for a couple of minutes. And finally, one of them said, "You're very sincere, Prabhu. I'm sure you'll get what you want." Huh? So we have to have that bhakti means seva. You can't separate bhakti from service. When we try to do bhakti without service, it means it was just something for my personal self-aggrandizement, for my personal sense enjoyment. And this is the meaning of ahankara. This is the thing which is diverting us from this nirodha, this chitta nirodha vritti, this being fixed in yoga. That now I have some other personal desire. Let's look at this verse from Garuda Purana. Bhaj ityesha vai dhatu. It speaks about what is the bhaj dhatu, or the root of the word bhaj. Bhaj sevayam parikirtitaha. It means service or seva. And therefore Srila Prabhupada would translate bhakti so many times as devotional service. But the word, I remember when I did years ago, I spent some time in Malaysia and in Bali, giving classes and things, and the language there is very much influenced by Sanskrit. And you'll see like the word prema is used, and the word bhakti is used too. And the word bhakti means love. But what does it exactly mean? Prabhupada can translate bhakti as devotion, but he translated it as devotional service on the basis of this point from Garuda Purana. Bhajit yesha vai dhatuhu sevayam parikirti tasmat seva buddhai prokta bhakti sadhana bhuyasi. That bhakti service is an intrinsic aspect of bhakti or bhajan. So if we're doing bhakti, but we're not doing seva, and how do we do seva? Srila Prabhupada spoke about that in another very basic point. This is from a lecture that he gave in Delhi in 1973. Seva or service means two things. There's sevaka, there's a master, savior, one who is worshipped and one who serves. Then the process is called bhakti. So Krishna is savior. He's that personality who's meant to be served. He's sevaka, and then there's sevaka Bhagavan, the devotee who's the medium of service. So if we don't serve through that medium, and that's the purpose of Guru, that's why we come to Guru. Why in the world will a Vaishnava accept someone worshiping them and saying, "Oh, you're my Guru"? A Vaishnava will never want that. A Vaishnava is chanada pisa nichena. Why in the world would they ever do that? But the Vaishnava is just thinking, I must serve my Gurudev. And Srila Prabhupada said that when people would come to him, that he would see, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, when people would come to him, he would see, "Oh, my Gurudev sent you. He doesn't belong to me, but my Gurudev sent you." And that's not the attitude of the disciple, but that's the attitude of the Guru. And therefore, in our prayers that we recite, some of you have, some of you don't. She should have. I'd like to send these to you. One of our prayers every day, we recite this before our japa. Lagado mujako Krishna Charan, Lagado mujako Gora Charan. That my prayer to my Gurudev, what do I want? Lagado mujako Krishna Charan, please engage me in the service of Krishna. Lagado mujako Gora Charan, please engage me in the service of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So this is our process. And it's by service like this that we'll understand our Siddhadeha. Let's see here. We could stop here. It might be a good idea. I think there's been a lot to digest in our session today. It's very high calorie. If you have a feast and you have a lot of really rich preparations, you can't take a whole lot of it. If everything is just, I remember we used to go to Haripad Prabhu's place sometimes for prasadam. My God, Prabhupada's disciple, he just passed away a year or two ago. An old friend of mine, wonderful devotee. And he would make these curd steaks, paneer, like huge, like this thick, and rus and glubjamans, and such opulent prasadam, really, really nice prasadam. But you can only take one curd steak. You can only take, 2 or 3 glubjamans. Well, there was one devotee I saw, they had a contest, he ate 50. But that's a Hare Krishna devotee for you. They're very special personalities. But in general, if you have something which is more high calorie, you can't take so much of it. So I'm a little concerned today that again that we've really dealt with a lot of really deep philosophical points, and maybe it takes a little digestion. And there's a lot more to come on the same subject. But about chanting and about our connection with Gurudev and about service as a connection, and some things which I think may surprise some of you also. But let's go ahead and stop here, and we can see if there's any discussion, comments, or questions or anything. Anybody have anything?
Hare Krishna. May I start with the controversy, Prabhu?
I'm sorry, what?
May I start with a controversy?
Oh, great. I love controversies. That's the best. Please do.
Yeah, I'm just considering how to present it. I've been asked this this topic, and although one could think that one knows Guru Tattva and you can go from one pillar of Guru Tattva to the other, still it wasn't easy for me to navigate how to satisfactory answer that question. Could you please somehow in your understanding describe because now your kata was very much about the our conceptual connection of our bhajan with our Guru Bhakti. How is it connected, and to understand it in that way, not separate our worship of Krishna from our relationship with our Guru. And then another part of it is that we hear the relationship between Diksha and Shiksha Guru, and that they are not different, and like that. And I remember when you're asked this question, you give wonderful, amazing answer, quoting your Guru Maharaj. Who is more important, Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru? I love that statement by Gaur Govinda Maharaj. But now when I contemplate, and that's the core of that question of that devotee, if I can reflect on that question, is the dynamic of, I will tell it for the devotees. You're always answer that your Guru Maharaj says, answers to that questions, who is more important, Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru? He answers, one who occupies your heart. Now my question is, what's the experience, like inner experience, when the shift is going on? It might happen that you are established in your sambandha with your Diksha Guru, then you meet Sadhu and you completely fall in love with him. Whatever, you may get much more attention from him, much more guidance from him. And then what happens is this, what's the essence of the answer of your Guru Maharaj? One who occupies your heart. He starts to occupy your heart. But I can very easily imagine you must be in a total split of emotions in situations, and you feel yourself to be dishonest to the Diksha Guru, and to properly go through that dynamic.
That's an apparent consideration, apara vichar. It's not tattva vichar. It's not absolute. From an apparent consideration, these kind of considerations, which are social, which may be institutional, which are formal, seem to be more important. And people who gravitate more toward that, who frankly Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls Bahirmukh-janas, or external persons, they see those external things as more important, and they don't see the internal thing. Our system is described by Narahari Sakar in his Krishna Bhajanamrita that we establish our relationship with Krishna through our Diksha Guru. He's our Sambandha Datta. He's our formal, and there is some formality there. And Srila Prabhupada speaks about the position of Guru. He has that formal position. So I've taken a formal vow, I've made a formal promise, just like we have a marriage ceremony with a formal vow, formal promises. So accepting a Diksha Guru is like that, is a formality. So if someone has done that, and in an example you've given, later and maybe that person, that Diksha Guru is very close to their heart, and that disciples very much appreciating what they've gotten from their Gurudev. But then later on, they meet someone who, as you said, overwhelms them, and they just feel so much more close with this person. What is the protocol then? According to Narahari Sakar, it's not a problem. He says that one should go to the Diksha Guru and say, Guru Maharaj, can I have your permission to take Siksha from this other person? And there's many examples of this, persons who are sending their disciples to Jiva Goswami to be trained more. And some of those cases, they were closer with Jiva Goswami than they were with their Diksha Guru. I would suggest so that if we actually have a genuine sambandha, which is kind of the essence, I think, of your question, with our Diksha Guru, if our connection with him is genuine, and if our feelings for our Diksha Guru are genuine, then that means that they're spiritual. Because if they're not spiritual, they're not genuine. They're just a shadow or something, they're just some kalpana, some imagination, some sentimentality. If they're genuine, then they've arisen because of some namruchi, some taste that we've gotten, Shushusho, Shuddhadanasya, Vasudeva, Kata, Ruchi, Shamahat, Sevaya Vipra, by rendering service to that Mahatma. We get some Kata Ruchi, some Nam Ruchi, and we get some inspiration. From that Nam Ruchi, we may get some further inspiration. That further inspiration may manifest in the form of another sadhu that we meet. But when that happens, I don't agree that it the devotee is clearly seeing that this has happened because I'm chanting the holy name.
For a little while. I'm sorry for last two sentences or something like that. I lost you.
Oh, Krishna. Yeah, I just got to notice that my connection's unstable.
Just I strongly suggest, and then I lost you.
I strongly suggest that we should see that whatever has happened is in connection with the holy name. Just as we were reading that verse from Harinam Chintamani, where Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the holy name is a cause of all causes. So if we're chanting the holy name, then Krishna is doing everything. If I'm taking shelter of the holy name in the Brahma Samhita, what is it? It's described that Krishna is controlling all the different planets and everything. So whatever happens when someone is chanting the holy name, they're on a different platform, they're on a different situation than some other personalities. So if they meet some other sadhu, if their heart opens up to this other sadhu, then they should say, this is connected with my Gurudev. And if they really feel some great, genuinely spiritual inspiration from this other person, then that genuine inspiration should make them love their Diksha Guru even more. And that's why Srila Prabhupada's his sannyas guru, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he once spoke, he said that the qualification of the Siksha Guru is that they bring you closer to your Diksha Guru.
Yes.
And if the Siksha Guru, he says, he goes on to say, if the Siksha Guru doesn't bring you closer to the Diksha Guru, he said he's not a Siksha Guru, he's not even a Vaishnava.
Yeah.
So it's not like in the material sense where there's some competition or institutional things or these formalities or this or that. But if it's something genuine, there is a formality I should ask my Diksha Guru, and maybe I might have some kalpana, there's some sentimentality, some imagination. This person's so good, you know, he's got a big beard, Gurudev, he must be really advanced. And Gurudev may slap me. Nonsense, don't do that. And someone may say, well, Gurudev's being sectarian. But no, Gurudev's trying to save your butt. Gurudev's trying to save your life. Gurudev is acting with love for you. And if we have faith in him, then we can follow that and we can get benefit. So we have to be very careful. So if our relationship and everything is based on our own sincerity, if we're very sincere in our relationship with our Diksha Guru, and from that sincerity in engagement with the service and bhajan given to us by our Diksha Guru, we get some further inspiration to go to some sadhu, we feel some ecstasy, some happiness in that. We should feel this is a kripa, this is a mercy of my Diksha Guru by the mantra that he gave me, and I should feel more love for my Diksha Guru. Now, maybe the Siksha Guru may become more prominent in my mind, but in a kind of ironic kind of way, the Diksha Guru will also become more prominent because it was him who brought me to my Siksha Guru by this mantra. And so that there's no problems on the path of bhakti. Everything is positive. Is that helpful?
I'm just speechless. It's so wonderful. Maybe even a little more controversial.
Okay, good.
May such a disciple, and let's give him a credit of a genuine disciple, afford to experience, have the genuine experience of this, what you now described, across the institutions and any other external considerations. And I dare to say, even over the external considerations of Guru, of the Diksha Guru.
What does that mean, the latter?
Meaning, like, I remember one devotee who was asking his Diksha Guru to step into the relationship with Vaishnava across the institutions. And the Diksha Guru wasn't in a favor. He more or less, one could say, he forbade that devotee. And it broken his heart, actually, very much. And it didn't help the relationship with the Diksha Guru as well, which might be viewed as not enough faith in the instructions of the Guru, and in a sense, but I was rather asking whether the disciple can carry in his heart this experience, what you just described, regardless any external considerations. So if he happens to appear in a situation that the new sadhu, I shouldn't use that word, like the another sadhu who captures his heart is not from the same institution, can he still have this genuine experience that it's a mercy of my Diksha Guru, who from the external point of view still can be seen very much as a fixed in the institutional conception, if I say so, member of the GBC, and then you know what I mean. I'm sure you know what I mean.
Well, obviously it can't work because the connection's broken if you go to some other institution, right? And Krishna's not there. How can we say that? That's an absurd statement. So two questions. First of all, let's address the first one. What if our Gurudev is on a material platform? That's kind of what you're indirectly saying. and maybe he's even envious, or he has some mundane motivation, and he says, no, no, you can't go to this other sadhu. You can't do that. Then what should we do? Well, in these things, we really don't have a choice. I
Mm.
often quote this verse in the Brahma-vaivarta Purana from Jiva Goswami's Bhakti Sundarbha Yavat Papais to Malinam Hridayam Tavadevahi, that as long as our Hrida is contaminated, Malinam, by sin or offenses, then we won't have attraction for a genuine sadhu or for proper siddhanta, or we'll have attraction for some of the wrong thing. So we have the first guru that we approach is a guru in the heart. And it's a guru in the heart, when our heart is purified, who whispers in our ear, you go to this person. And you really
Mhm.
don't have any choice.
Mhm.
Whatever your heart tells you, you're going to do that.
Mhm.
You can't just have a meeting and say, I'm the temple president, and I decided you're not allowed to go to this person. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Whatever our heart is whispering, and maybe sometimes our heart may be saying, go to go to Sai Baba, or go to this, and some people do that.
Yeah.
They can't control themselves. So the first thing is Chaita Darpana Marjanam. We have to purify our hearts so we can really make a strong connection with the Chaita Guru. And that
Mhm.
Chaita Guru will speak to us. So in this example you're giving, what if that sadhu tells us no? Well, if he's a genuine sadhu, and your guru is genuine, and the sadhu that you want to go to is genuine, it won't be a problem. And you'll know that in your
Mhm.
heart. If he tries to block you from that, then you may offer obeisances to him, and you have to decide on your own. Now, going to the other aspect of your question, which is controversial, and I want to address why it's controversial, and maybe not for some of the institutional reasons that some people might suppose. To go to another Sangha can be a controversial thing. Now, my experience personally is dealing with my friends in the Gaudiya Math and my friends at Radhakund and with different Babajis and that. And I don't recommend that people be eclectic and go here and there to all different Vaishnavas. But in the course of our research work, we've met different sadhus and different persons. My observation is that in the Gaudiya Math, this is not really much of a problem. And in one branch of the Gaudiya Math, well, just for example, I know one temple near Vrindavan where there must have been 50 devotees, and out of the 50 devotees, not a single one of them was initiated by the sadhu in that temple. They were all initiated by someone else, but they took permission to have siksha from this other Maharaj, and they all shifted there. So that was not such a complicated thing for them. Now, if they wanted to go to a Babaji, that might be another thing. Hopefully, if they wanted to go to ISKCON, that wouldn't be a problem. Similarly, in ISKCON, I know sadhus. Niranjan Maharaj told devotees very clearly, as one lecture he gave, he said, if you get some inspiration from some other Vaishnav, no problem. You have my full blessings to go there. I'm happy with that. He's not an envious, controlling kind of person. And I know he's had a few disciples who wanted to go to the Gaudiya Math, and I know some other ISKCON sadhus also who've had the same thing happen. And their gurus gave them their blessings. And Sachinanda Maharaj gave such a blessing once, and he just told his disciple, come back to me sometimes and tell me what you're hearing there. And they did like that. Huh? And it's not something that from a mundane perspective we should say, oh, it means that this other Babaji person is better, or this other person in the Gaudiya Math is better than my group. No, it's a question of personal inspiration. And it's a very, very individual thing. Don't look at it in an institutional sense, but from something of an institutional consideration. We should be very private about that. And my Guru Maharaj spoke with some very senior godbrothers of his about this. They asked him for what he thought about going to some prominent sadhus in the Gaudiya Math. And my Guru Maharaj told them, if someone's a sadhu, what's the harm? He said, but don't let other people know that you're going. Because if you let people know, and that happened in ISKCON, it became, you may know this history, some senior ISKCON devotees, it became known that they were going to some Gaudiya Mat sannyasi, and it created a big problem. Many devotees then started going there, and they thought, oh, ISKCON's not, because there's a lot of neophytes who just want to go to the best person, whoever's going to it. It's not a personal consideration for them. So therefore we say Gopa Yed Guru Matmanaha. The Sattva Tantra describes as quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilas, that you should hide your guru, hide your Siksha guru, especially because we're doing service in this mission of Srila Prabhupada. So if someone has some inspiration in a sadhu outside the mission, what can you do? And if the person's a genuine sadhu, what's the harm? It may happen like that. I don't, I may get in trouble for this. We're being recorded. We're on YouTube right now. But what's the problem? Once we were in Anapa with Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj, and we were doing a group retreat together. And the first day we went for a japa walk in the evening. It's the two of us, and we were talking something. And he was complaining about his position. He was a GBC at that time, and he really didn't like being a GBC because he's not a manager. He's a genius. He's a spiritual genius. He's a sadhu. So he was complaining to me. He said, Madhavananda, this, and he mentioned to me that one prominent and very wonderful, it's a sadhu that I know, sannyasi in the Gaudiya Mat, came to Moscow. And this particular sadhu is well known throughout Gaudiya Mat. He's not very non-sectarian and very friendly with everybody, very respectful, not a troublemaking kind of person at all. He loves my Guru Maharaj very much. Anyway, he came to Moscow. And so Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj invited him to the temple. And so he came to the ISKCON Moscow temple. And then when he came to the temple, Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj just spontaneously said, so you should give class, and put him on the Vyasa-san. And he said, and that Maharaj insisted that Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj should also sit on the Vyasa-san with him. And they both gave class. And so Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj was telling me he got in big trouble for that, because it's an institution thing, and there's some neophyte devotees who can't digest that. So I'm listening to all of that, and I thought to myself, I could hear the voice of a, what do you call it, the devil's advocate. Some other. So I proposed it to him. I knew what some people would say, and he hadn't really addressed that. So I thought, well, let me just be I didn't tell him I'm being the devil's advocate, but I said, well, Maharaj, aren't you concerned that maybe if he gives class like that, some of the devotees might go to him and they might take initiation from him? And Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj, God bless him, he started yelling at me. It was so beautiful. I loved it. He chastised me. And he said, so what if they do? So what if they do? What's the problem? What's the problem? Like in such an intense way. And I felt so much joy in my heart. Paradoxically, I'm being chastised, but I felt joy that this is a real sadhu. He's not just attached for himself. Now, that's not something I would speak in public in our ISKCON temples, because it wouldn't be very popular and it wouldn't be very supportive of the mission there. But I'm speaking this to in an assembly of some intimate friends with you, because I'm close with you. It's also going on the internet right now. But I'm speaking it as a principle. And as a principle there, that we should be very careful to preserve our Gurudev Seva Sangha, because that's my bhakti. To serve my Gurudev Seva Sangha mission, to protect it. That's such an important thing. Not because I'm a member and I'm controlled by them and I have to get permission from them or this or that, some sectarian, mundane reasons, but from a spiritual reason. I want to serve my Gurudev, and it'll be problematic if people know that I'm going to some other sadhu. So we keep that thing a private thing if we do that at all. Is that helpful?
It's wonderful. I couldn't imagine more helping answer.
Don't repeat that to everybody in your zone either. I'll get in trouble. They won't want me to go there. But that's our Vaishnava Siddhanta. We don't own these people. We don't own someone. The disciple may think I belong to Gurudev. I'm part of Gurudev. But that connection is a voluntary connection. And if that disciple feels some inspiration to go to someone else, the guru, the sadhu is not attached.
That's how I always understood that disciple is obliged to feel to belong to guru, yet the guru is forbidden to feel the disciple belongs to him.
But at the same
that,
time, the guru may feel very close with the disciple. And out of
yeah,
it, just like a father with a child, and the child feels like, Dad, I want to go. I met this guys, and they're selling drugs, and they're such cool guys, and they're out until 3 o'clock in the morning in this race car, and they're doing all these cool things, and I want to go hang out with them. Is that okay? And the father may say, hell no, don't do that. And then the son may think, oh, my dad, he's just offensive. He's just like, no, it's out of love for
yeah,
the
that's one
son.
part of the example, but another part of example of that possessiveness would be if he prevents him from the genuine inspiration. He must respect that jiva, that sadhaka, might be inspired by uh, another Vaishnava, if I say so. And that's what we see on genuine sadhus. That's just example what you gave now with your conversation with Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. That exactly shows this. That he just not he can't be possessive in that sense, like that they belong to me, or because it's very much defined again by the institution. They belong to us. And then you start to think in a terms of manpower and donations and like that, and then you ruin the whole thing to absolutely material level.
It's
So
like good parenting. You've raised a few kids now. So at a certain point, they want to go out with a boy, or they're really attached, so they want to get married to a particular boy. And you can come in and say, you don't have my permission. You can't do that. But if they're really attached to him and they see that, you can't say anything. Or maybe if you have a really, really close relationship, it's so close, they may listen to you and say, okay, I'm not going to go to that boy. But if you
mhm,
don't have that relationship, then what can you do? And a good parent lets the child grow up. A good
mhm,
parent lets the child graduate from school, leave home, and like that. But a bad parent, they call him a helicopter parent in America. They're always flying overhead and trying to watch and control every single thing the child does. So a helicopter guru, in the same way, is trying to control every single thing the disciple does. And then the disciple can't grow up. And we see some devotees, they accept that. Some
yeah,
devotees accept, like you're saying, oh, I can't go to this other side, or that's wrong because my Gurudev said so. And that's the only reason, because my Gurudev said so. And they just cut out their own sincerity instead of having Krishna and Krishna bhakti as a primary force in their heart. Then it becomes some institutional consideration instead.
yeah, yeah.
And then what's
Thank
worse, they become managers.
End up in the same situation. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I always love your comments and things. One of the things I like the most about Leela Purushottam Prabhu is he's a troublemaker. Troublemakers are really good. Krishna's also a troublemaker. Krishna Kun, do you want to share something? Can we see you?
Hare Krishna, I don't know if you want to see me, I don't think so, but here I am, Hare Krishna, my pronounced devotees. I wanted to add something because I feel that it can be a little, I feel the need for some little balance.
Yes, it can be. This can be easily misunderstood. I was really trying to make it very
Yeah, I'm just
balanced,
kind of,
but Krishna
uh,
Kun is my lawyer sometimes. So
well, no, I'm just thinking, okay, here is Orshi thinking that we are advocating that everybody should leave ISKCON gurus because they are bogus and they should just go to some genuine gurus outside the ISKCON or something, like.
I hope not. I hope
I
to
also
get good
hope not.
understanding.
I think it was pretty clear, but I just wanted to make a comment that you mentioned about Sri Niranjan Maharaj, that he, in general, he gives permission to devotees to hear who they feel they need to hear from. His only request is that if you're going to hear from someone within ISKCON, then you just take your questions to that person that you are hearing from. And from time to time, check in with him if you want to. But he doesn't even require devotees to, like, he definitely doesn't require that devotees get their nourishment from him. And he makes that clear.
Mhm.
If you get your nourishment from someone else, you go to that person, no problem. But he knows that there are some devotees, some of his disciples, who will get their nourishment from him. So he provides for them. But anyway, there's a clear distinction. It's interesting. But there are cases, there is one case, concrete case, which he mentioned to us, actually. I don't know if you remember. But once he told us how there is one disciple only that he specifically banned from going. In this case, it was Srila Narayan Maharaj, so I can just say. And in this particular case, he said he banned this devotee from going there because of his motivation. It was very clear to him. And because of the history of that particular devotee. So my point is that we should be broad-minded for Krishna's direction from our heart, but we should not think that if our Diksha Guru tells us something, then still the Lord in the heart can override that so easily. We really have to, we follow the Lord in the heart above our Diksha Guru if our Diksha Guru is in a fallen position. But if he's not, then we follow our Diksha Guru because he sees us much better than we see
Right,
ourselves.
because what if our Diksha Guru is not fallen and we just have this misunderstanding and then we end up committing a terrible, terrible offense?
And we harm even with the offense against our Diksha Guru, but even other ways we harm ourselves because we may not realize our motivations in going here and there and hearing this and that. And all we are doing is maybe we avoid going deeper with one person and we try to run around the surface for interesting information and we never actually come to the point of surrendering with certain things.
Interesting information, or this other group looks more hip, this other group looks more cool, that this other sadhu looks more cool. And what do we get? Another point is there too, that sometimes devotees, it creates a disturbance in the mission too, because someone may be doing some valuable service in ISKCON, using ISKCON as an example, and then there's a concern, maybe they're going to leave their service. So again, it depends on how we're conceiving that service. We should look at that service in a very sacred way. And this is, I'm doing a service for Srila Prabhupada, for my Param Gurudev. And I can't, how can I leave that service? How can I leave my Guru Maharaj's mission? And this is a prayer, even when Krishna himself told Narad Muni, you should come with me. There's that verse in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam where, he tells Prahlad Maharaj, and Prahlad Maharaj tells him that how can I give up the service of my Gurudev? I can't go with you because I have the service of my Gurudev. Now, someone may go and they may hear, but I would strongly suggest, just like our friend Mukunda Datta Prabhu in Vrindavan, who's the head pujari there, but he's initiated by someone outside of ISKCON. But it's never, ever been an issue. He's quiet about his guru. He doesn't make a big thing. He does his guru. He does his Vyas Puja program for his guru. He has a few friends come over to his house. He doesn't do it in the ISKCON Vrindavan temple. He has a few friends come over in that, and he doesn't hide who his guru is. Everybody knows, but he does his service for ISKCON, and he's so fixed in that. Similarly, there's another devotee in Kiev that I know who's initiated by a prominent guru outside of ISKCON. But this devotee in Kiev, he has a very senior position. He does a lot of service there. That's beautiful. And that's beneficial for ISKCON. It's beneficial for the Gaudiya Math or whoever they're connected with. Leela Prabhu. You okay, Krishna Kohn? You want to add anything more?
Yeah, thank you.
For her expansion on it. It was very helpful. And just came to my mind that one comment would be, or reaction to it, would be that for the sake of discussion, we gave the credit to all the sides of being genuine. So we discussed rather like idyllic scenario. And if we bring up, because we could bring up, you pronounced one of the possible wrong intentions and like that. There could be many of them, and it would how to say, move the discussion into great variety of directions, because yeah, then it could, yeah, if you give some not genuineness on the side of a disciple, you will come up with a certain scenarios that's what you proposed very nicely. If you give the not full genuineness to the side of the Diksha Guru, you would have to discuss a certain features of that relationship. If you that Madhavananda Prabhu proposed that the Shiksha Guru can only be considered proper Shiksha Guru if your faith in your Diksha Guru is strengthened, otherwise he's not really fulfilling that function of so that would be another, and that's possible scenario. We have seen all of these in the history, now that those Shiksha Gurus uh, were rather ruining the fate of their followers into their Diksha Gurus, even saying bad things about them, but that would create a huge discussion. So for the sake of my question and discussion, we gave the credit to all the sides that their interest, their intentions are genuine. That's how I understood the discussion.
Mhm. Thank you. Nice clarification. And yes, that's how I also understood the discussion, but I was figuring that maybe it's better to just make that point.
Yeah,
That we
yeah,
are-
I very much appreciated that point. Thank you.
I've had discussions about this subject with different devotees in different mutts and different groups, just speaking them as a friend. And one thing that I found, I mean, you can't believe how strict devotees are to staying in the seva sangha of their guru. It's
Yes.
a huge thing for them. They just don't even consider it. So really, that's the problem that we're talking about. If someone takes permission from their Diksha Guru and they go and they hear from someone and they do it in a private way, and they're just hearing, it depends on their connection with their Diksha Guru and who they're hearing from, and there may be some exemptions, but in general, it's not a problem. It only becomes a problem when they start making it public. It really becomes a problem when they start preaching to the other devotees in the Sangha, in the temple, that you should also go with me to my new guru and whatever. Then it really creates a problem. But in general, first of all, this whole confusion, this whole problem generally doesn't happen very much. That's what I've seen in the Sri Sampradaya, in the Madhva Sampradaya in Udupi, when we visited there amongst the Vaishnavas. Everywhere I look, generally speaking, the principle is someone has one Diksha Guru and they stay with that person, they serve them through their whole life, and that's it. And there's a few extraordinary examples of someone going and taking Siksha from someone else. And that's a very unusual thing, because generally the symptom of a disciple is their nishta. They're very fixed in their guru. A common problem today, though, the problem today is that we have a lot of Western devotees who, to be really brutally frank, don't really understand the culture very much. Sometimes they want to own their disciple, as we're saying. But on the disciples' part, sometimes they just want to like run all over, and they think they're really advanced if they make friends with everybody and they're hearing from everybody. And I'm so cool that I'm doing this thing. And it's just out of sentiment. And I've seen some of my Gaudiya Mutt friends and Babaji friends and others, they're horrified when they see that. It's like inconceivable. Nobody would ever do that. They don't do that. In the Shiva Sampradaya generally, or in the Madhva Sampradaya, in Gaudiya Mutt amongst Bab, nobody does that. But it's becoming a little bit of a thing in our ISKCON society today, because devotees, frankly, sometimes they take initiation too quickly. or they accept guru too quickly, or they do it in a sentimental way, which is not very deep. And that's what really causes problems.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
very
That's-
controversial subject. So if
Thank-
anybody's really pissed off with me watching this and you're really angry, please don't blame me. Please forgive me. Just blame and you can ban Leela Purushottam Prabhu. It's his fault.
Goes on my head. I accept it.
Okay, anybody else with anything?
But thank you so much, Prabhu, and Mataji also for broadening the discussion. Thank you so much.
It's good that we should be, these are actually simple, basic things. They're obvious things that should be asked and should be dealt with in a very straightforward way. Sometimes, you can't really speak about it. You can't talk about, sex life with a 5-year-old child. And you say, well, there's the birds and the bees and, this and that. And it's a big bird that has a bag and he brings the baby and and he says some things like that. You can't. So similarly, it's not appropriate. In a temple or someplace with a lot of new people and not so mature to even speak about these things. But I'm doing it because you're our friend. Dorothea, do you want to make some comment? Are you angry with us?
No,
You can get angry. You can get angry with Leela Purushottam Prabhu.
I'm very pleased with all of you and very grateful to be in this sangha. And yeah, I would like to ask about what you just said about like Westerners not really knowing the culture. So I really don't know much of the culture, especially like when you said like the traditional disciple is very niched out, like very focused on one's guru. So so how do we know that we are hearing from different persons out of sentiment or out of genuine search for sadhu sangha? How do we know that?
Good question.
Like maybe,
How do you know?
yeah.
What do you think? What do you think? It's a good question. What would you say?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, you have, obviously, I think you'll agree, it requires some maturity, doesn't it?
Yes.
It requires some strong faith. And if we have Shastriya Shraddha, what are you looking for, Krishna?
Recording.
Can you please turn off the mic on your thing? There's an echo.
I turn it off. Is an echo now? You have an echo now?
No, you have
Yes.
mic on, Mataji. You have mic
You have
on.
your mic on. Turn it off. That's better. Thank you. I think. Yeah. Okay. So how do we know if we're being sentimental or not sentimental? What can you say? You can tell a child you're being sentimental, and it maybe it's true. Or maybe the child actually is so simple and so pure, maybe they have some proper vision that you can't even perceive because you don't respect them, because you think, oh, it's just a kid. So it really, first of all, it's up to us as individuals. The general system to follow is we should follow Shastra. And Shastra says there's certain things. It says don't sit in the same seat as your guru. You should follow the instructions of your guru. Don't eat before your guru. Don't interrupt them. Don't do this. And there's certain basic etiquette for that, how to behave. And if I have some inspiration, no, I'll sit in my Gurudev's lap. And while he's taking prasadam, and I'll also take prasadam because I'm very close with Gurudev. Well, you can know from Shastra that's not a cool thing to do. That's not good. And you may know from sadhu. And sadhu, what is the difference between sadhu and guru? Because we have three things. We have guru, sadhu, and Shastra. What is the difference between sadhu and guru? Guru is also a sadhu. The difference is sadhu there refers to the tradition. And that's in and of itself a long discussion, but it means the behavior of the Sangha, how people behave, how they do something. So we generally check with the Brahman, that also can refer to sadhu. If we have a dream, we have some far out thing. What does it mean? Did I eat too much pizza the night before? Or was it some divine revelation or something? So I should go privately to Gurudev. I should go to Shastra, and if I had this dream and I saw that Krishna was dressed up like a clown and he was riding on an Easter bunny and he was giving away candy canes to everybody. From Shastra, you can understand probably that's just a bogus dream because Krishna doesn't dress up like that. He doesn't ride on the Easter bunny. From Shastra, you could understand it. Or you may go privately to Guru. You may privately go to Sadhu, some other Brahmin or some other person, and ask them, well, you know, I had this dream, Krishna was dressed up like this and doing this thing, and and see what they say. Is that helpful?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
See, you don't really have much choice about it. It depends on how much an impression we're willing to accept from Shastra, from sadhus, and from Guru. And some devotees who come, they really don't accept very much from it, to be really honest with you. They have their own idea. Let me unplug this. So now Krishna Kun can hear everybody also. They still have their mundane morality, their mundane logic and things, and they don't really accept Shastra in that. So what can you do? So it depends on how deeply we're drinking from the medicine of Shastra, how much I accept Shastra and those things. So we should accept it. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dorothy. Hare Krishna. Anybody else with any reflections, comments, questions, protests? This is a Purushottam Prabhu. You want to say something?
It just reminded me of that verse that you quote from Bhakti Sandarbha, that what brings us to bogus guru, it's just Hridaya Malinam. Then it will be limited. Our ability to consider Shastra and Sadhu will be limited by the degree into which our heart is impure and full of sin. And
Yeah, and then another question comes, how do I deal with people like that? And there's more than one. I don't know if you ever noticed that. There's a few of them who have, you know, such hearts and they're like wanting to be controllers and this and that. If we see some envy in them, then we practice upeksha or neglect. Harichandra Prabhu, you want to say something? And give us some story about how you saw Krishna during your japa?
No. Because of my English, I sent the message. I don't know if it was.
You sent a message, okay?
Yeah, in chat.
Okay, how do we overcome a long-standing lack of enthusiasm if we have no desire to follow the mood of the majority of students for our Guru's project? What is expected of a disciple? Yeah, it's a fact, Prabhuji. It's not just that we snap our finger and Shazam in the movie. Now I automatically have enthusiasm. It's not that the temple president, you know, points his finger at you and says, Harichandra, you must be enthusiastic. And you say, okay, now I'm enthusiastic. We call that fanaticism. When you want to run around and acting enthusiastic like that. If it's not genuine, then it's just fanaticism. So how do utsaha nishchaya dharyat? Rupa Goswami says enthusiasm, confidence, and patience. How do we develop that when we're in association with such devotees? And how do we associate with such devotees, advanced devotees? We associate by seva, by serving, and to the degree of our sincere service to a mahat, to a great devotee, not just the temple president, with all respect to our temple managers and our ISKCON projects, which are important, but to the extent that we please an advanced Vaishnava, or as Jiva Goswami says in Bhakti Sandarbha, to the extent that we melt the heart of that advanced devotee, then we feel unlimited bliss. We feel unlimited enthusiasm. But if we're just doing things in a mechanical way, and even we may be chanting lakhs of rounds, we may be chanting so many rounds and going to Radhakund and wearing Radhakund tilak, and I'm reading this book and this Govinda Lilamrita and this thing and that thing, but I don't have any enthusiasm. I may have some imagination of enthusiasm, But it may just be just an illusion on my part. But that real enthusiasm comes when we render service with faith to a sadhu, then we feel so very, very blissful. And that's extremely important in our spiritual life. Otherwise, we've seen it. You're right. Implicit in your question is kind of a statement also. The statement that I see in your question is that we see sometimes devotees, they don't have so much enthusiasm. They're just doing it in a mechanical way. They're serving, but they're serving in a mechanical kind of way. How can we overcome that? So we have to do things. Again, the Bhagavatam describes that when we're doing our service, ahoitakiya pratiyata, with no motivation and no, just like I wrote this thing a few days ago about the Padayatra here, and I think everybody smiled and laughed, and they're like, why is that a little bit inspiring? Because there's no motivation. In fact, I'm discouraging and telling you, you're not going to get money, you're not going to become famous, you're not going to get this, you're not going to get that. So that's ecstatic. Wow. But it's not ecstatic, it's not appealing for people who have an agenda, who have a motivation to become famous, to have a position in the institution, then they don't want to go there. But in and of itself, when we present bhakti like that, that bhakti should be performed with no motivation, without ever stopping, without any personal motivation, then it's yatma supersedity. Then it gives so much unlimited happiness to the heart. So that's another aspect of it. We should try to render that service in an unmotivated way, not just because I have to. Now I'm married, so I have to chant japa with my wife. I have to pay the bill because, but if you, in a forced way, but if you do it because I'm just happy to do it. I want to serve my wife because she's a devotee. And I don't care if I become famous for it. I don't care if she likes me for it or not, but I just want to do it out of my own heart. Then you feel so happy with that. So service should be done in that kind of way. Is that helpful?
Yes. May I have one thought about
Sure.
When I follow this conversation today, I think that my own problem is my pride. Proud, be so much proud, and I didn't like that somebody chastised me, and it's for another part that it is necessary be chastised by the guru, and this proud is difficult to overcome without be chastised. It is correct understanding.
I remember, this is a little mundane. Before I joined, there was a song. One line out of the song is that some people at this party, and they're screaming, the greatest of the sadists and the masochists too, sadists and the masochists, and those are words you may not be familiar with. The greatest of the sadists and the masochists too, screaming, please hit me and I'll hit you. So sometimes our party is like that. A sadist is someone who gets pleasure from torturing someone else. A masochist is someone who gets pleasure by experiencing pain themselves. Just like some men, they want to be beaten with a whip by their wife or some woman like that. That's a masochist. So we should neither be a sadist nor a masochist. It's not that we should not torture devotees or those persons who are taking instruction from us and be a sadist, but nor should we be a masochist and a fool and I just accept punishment from everybody. And it's great, Prabhu. Thank you very much. I just here, just beat me. Everybody can beat me. That's also a sick condition. But I can't accept chastisement from everyone. Can you? You can't. It's not possible. But when we have faith in someone, Even your own parents, if you don't have faith in their motivation, you think your father's just an angry person who's just worried about the family reputation. And so he's telling you something and you can't listen to him. You become angry. But if you feel that your parents love you, then you can listen to them and you can be chastised by them. We can accept chastisement from someone when we genuinely feel they care about us. But it's not just that somebody tells us, Prabhu, you should just be humble, Prabhu, and just accept chastisement from the GBC and from the temple president and from the temple commander and from the Bhakta leader and from the Sankirtan leader and from the head cook and from the head toilet cleaner and from this other Prabhu because he's a Brahmin and this other one because he's a brahmachari, and just be humble, Prabhu. That's bizarre and that's sick.
Thank you. The head toilet cleaner, really good person for me.
Okay, that's good. If you love that toilet cleaner, Ayendra Prabhu wanted to be the toilet cleaner. So he's a toilet cleaner. You can accept chastisement because if you love him. But if you don't have faith, even if it's Srila Prabhupada, if you don't have faith in them, and there was a few devotees who couldn't take chastisement from Srila Prabhupada. So there has to be faith there. There has to be faith and love. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhu. Really, really nice answers. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, anybody else with anything? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and finish. It's getting a little late right now. I'm glad Dorothy, you have something else. I hope you're not angry with me.
No, no, of course not. I'm so happy to be here. I just want to say I'm very happy that Krishna Kund Mataji showed her face a little bit. I'm very happy.
I am too.
Yeah, because we want to see you, Mataji.
Not me. I'm not coming. I didn't tell her to say that. I didn't give her any money. Did I give you some money or something to say that, Dorothea?
No.
Actually,
mute yourself. Don't.
I'm trying to mute myself. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so just the thing is, I'm doing all this teaching and all these little things that need to be done, and they will never get done if I don't get them done during class. And it's not first class, so I don't like to show it much because I don't want devotees to learn my bad example, because better to be like 100% focused. But sometimes I find it practical.
See, Krishna Kund is very empowered. And her comment just now, which may sound a little kind of maybe lagu or not so deep or something, actually, it's the introduction to our next session. And how is it that service is so important that we may think, and I can tell you for sure that, like, if I go to Leela Purushottam Prabhu's house and I do a program there, and during the kata, I don't see Leela Purushottam Prabhu or his wife. They're just in the kitchen cooking or they're cleaning and fixing things up for the program. I'm not very happy. I can tell you that. I had this experience many times. Or if you go to a temple and you're giving the class and everybody's making garlands and cutting vegetables and they're not paying attention, that's also not very inspiring. But there is an exception to that. And that's what Krishna Kund's introducing, what she's doing. And that's our next discussion about the depth of Guru Seva and the connection of Guru Seva and Krishna Nam and which weighs more, which is more important than that. Thank you, Krishna Kund. Okay, so can we finish there? Anybody else with anything? Thank you, Dorothea. That was a great comment. I really appreciate it. You're also speaking my heart. We want to hear more from Krishna Kund. She's so good. She says a lot of things, much better than me.
Anyway, I have an editor husband. I learned many years ago never to try to answer some of his criticisms.
Yeah, Leela Purushottam says, I expect one quote from Vishwanath. You can also expect a quote from Srila Prabhupada too, and from Vishwanath about this. And it's a very interesting thing in connection also with, through the perspective of Siddha Pranali. That's what we're talking about. We're not just talking about Nam Tattva, Guru Tattva, but we're talking about, because many times some of you heard me speaking about some of these things in connections with Guru Tattva or Nam Tattva, but now I want to speak about it through the perspective of Siddha Pranali. All right, that's great. So, we've got some friends coming from Slovakia here tomorrow. Or, yeah, on...
Prabhu knows about it, I can see.
Okay.
It's Mangala Prabhu and...
I'm envious of them. He just wrote me today how he's looking forward.
I told him that I want to hear about all the nonsense things about Leela Purushottam Prabhu and all his criticisms of you. So just be forewarned.
Please listen carefully. Please listen and consider properly if you want to let me stay in this sangha.
Hare Krishna.
Please, all devotees, really, please think about whether you can join our Padayatra.
Yeah, you're all invited for the
It's
Padayatra.
just a few days, and it's fairly close to you. And
well, for some of you, it's pretty close. For Dorothea, it's not. Yeah. For Bonnie, it's really not.
Sorry about that, Bonnie.
Sorry, Hare Krishna, I didn't understand. It was a title to me, Krishna Kund, that you mentioned me that you should come to the Padayatra.
No, I didn't.
She said all of you who are close by, because
okay.
Chandra is not so far away.
Because I was afraid I missed.
Bonnie's a long ways away. You're really
Maybe
close.
I could just jump on a cargo ship.
Maybe you can do it. Just don't stow away on a jet or something. That's dangerous. All right. It's so nice to have Sangha with all you guys. And that's our real purpose, is coming together and having some discussion and having some shastra, not that it's a big sadhu thing from me or something like that. Thank you all very much. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Brinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Prema Anandi Hari Hari.